Hello everyone, welcome to the course of Animal Cell Culture, Medical and Microbial Biotechnology, which is designed for MSc Biotechnology 4th semester students. And today's topic is molecular markers. Molecular markers, they include hybridization and PCR based markers. And today we will discuss about the RFLP, RAPD, and AFLP in detail. So, before going deep in the marker terms, we must know about something about genetic markers. What are the genetic markers? So, genetic markers, or you can say the genetic marker, is either a gene or a DNA sequence with a known chromosome location which controls a particular gene or trait. Genetic markers are closely related with the target gene and they can act as sign, or you can say they can act as flag for a particular gene or its product. And of course, about the uh, mm, changes or the property or characteristic of an individual. So genetic markers, they can be classified into two types. One which includes the classical genetic markers and other which include the DNA or molecular markers. So classical markers, they include morphological, cytological, and biochemical markers. Morphological markers, basically, these are those which can visually distinguish, uh, and these markers can visually distinguish qualities like flower color, growth habit, or seed structure, or length. These are some morphological markers which are actually important traits, and they are easy to use with no requirement for a specific instrument. They are only observed or visualized on the basis of their differential property. Another markers, classical marker, which is known as cytological markers. Cytological markers are related with the variation present in the numbers, bending patterns, size, shape, order, and position of chromosome. These markers are known as cytological markers. So generally, these variation reveals differences in the distribution of euchromatin and heterochromatin. Another marker, which is known as biochemical markers, and particularly biochemical markers, they include isogymes, and these markers are multimolecular forms of, in case of isogymes, they are multimolecular forms of enzyme which are coded by various genes, but they have the same function, and generally they are allelic variation of enzyme, and thus gene and genotypic frequencies can be estimated with biochemical markers. Now, we will move towards the DNA markers or molecular markers. Molecular markers or DNA markers are nucleotide sequences and can be investigated. These DNA markers or molecular markers can be investigated through the polymorphism present between the nucleotide sequences of different individuals. And actually, this polymorphism, it arises because of insertion, deletion, point mutation, duplication, and translocation. These phenomena or mechanisms are actually the basis of these polymorphisms, and it is not necessary that these actually polymorphisms they also affect the activity of genes, but variation occurs. So let's move towards the classification of molecular markers. Actually, these molecular markers are classified into various groups on the basis of mode of gene action. It means the gene is codominant or dominant markers. So then another method is method of detection. So what is the method of detection for a particular molecular marker? It is a hybridization based molecular marker or PCR based markers. Then next criteria for the classification of these molecular markers is the mode of transmission. What is the mode of transmission? It is paternal organelle inheritance, maternal organelle inheritance, or biparental nuclear inheritance, or maternal nuclear inheritance. These are the basis of the mode of transmission. So, on the basis of the, we will discuss more about the molecular markers which are actually classified on the basis of mode of gene action and method of detection. So first of all, we just go through the different types of DNA markers. These DNA markers, they are of two types on the basis of their detection method. First, non-PCR based markers, which include the restriction fragment length polymorphism, and another category is PCR based molecular markers. So, PCR based molecular markers, the list is very large, and it includes RAPD, FLP, SCAR, STS, EST, single nucleotide polymorphism, simple sequence repeats, CAPS, and DAT, that is diversity array technology. So let's talk about the simplest and uh, classical one molecular marker, that is restriction fragment length polymorphism, which is also abbreviated as RFLP. So RFLP was the first molecular marker technique and the only marker system based on hybridization. And individual of same species actually exhibit variation or polymorphism as a result of different types of mechanisms, as we have told you, that insertion deletion, which are also known as indels, point mutation, translocation, duplication, and inversion methods. So these variation can be studied on the basis of RFLP marker, and this variation is the base of the RFLP pattern. So these variation lead to the gain or loss of recognition sites. Recognition sites means the sites which are recognized by some restriction new endonucleases. So which results in fragments of various length and polymorphism. The restriction enzyme will not cut the fragment if a single base pair variation occurs in recognition site. Remember this. So these restriction endonucleases, they are quite specific for their recognition site, and if there is any single base pair variation occurs in recognition sites, these restriction enzymes will not cut the fragment. So this results in a huge number of fragments with different length, and this is followed by the agarose or polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. After restriction digestion, the gel electrophoresis, it is applied for the separation of these fragments by producing a series of bands, and each bands represent a fragment having different length, and the method or procedure of restriction fragment length polymorphism is it includes, as you can see in this slide, that the first step is the extraction of DNA. Total DNA is extracted. That is followed by purification, and after purification of the DNA, which has been isolated, the DNA is subjected to restriction digestion with the help of a specific restriction endonuclease or a set of restriction endonucleases. After restriction digestion, after incubation with a restriction enzyme, the DNA sample from various organism or different organism or sample, they are subjected to gel electrophoresis. And gel electrophoresis, it will provides a gel pattern which depends upon the size of DNA fragments, and the size of DNA fragments, it itself depends upon the variation in among or in between the two sample or among the samples. So this gel electrophoresis, that these DNA fragments then transferred from gel onto a membrane, and the southern blotting, it is applied. And as you know that after transferring the DNA bands from gel onto the membrane, this particular step, it is known as blotting. That is followed by immobilization of DNA, then pre-hybridization and hybridization of DNA with the labeled specialized probe. It is done, and these DNA fragments which are hybridized with labeled DNA probe, then visualized through autoradiography. So it is a detailed method of RFLP. So you can see this purified DNA, it is incubated with restriction enzyme, and restriction fragment preparation, it is the first step. And if we want to compare three sample, which is termed as 1, 2 and 3, and 1, 2 see the homology pattern or kinship in between these samples. So after the restriction digestion, electrophoresis is done, and the mixture of restriction fragments from each sample are separated by electrophoresis. You can see here these bands are separated, and then these bands, they are transferred onto a nitrocellulose membrane or any other solid matrix, nylon membrane. So after blotting, these bands are immobilized on the membrane with the help of some techniques like UV transillumination or UV exposure, or via heating the membrane in the dry oven at 80 degrees Celsius under vacuum, or in case of nylon membrane, the vacuum is not required. So after immobilization, this membrane, it is subjected to pre-hybridization and then hybridization in the presence of a probe. So the probe is a single stranded DNA which is complementary to the DNA sequence of interest, and this probe must be labeled with either radioactive or non-isotopic label. So after if we use the radioactively labeled probe, then we go for the autoradiography. And in autoradiography, a sheet of photographic film is laid over the paper, and the radioactivity in the bound probe exposes the film to form an image corresponding to specific DNA band. And from this picture, we can see that this third sample, it shows variation from sample 1 and 2. The sample 1 and 2 are the same, while this third sample, it is different from the sample 1 or 3. So this is all about the RF LP, that is restriction fragment length polymorphism, which is a non-PCR based marker, or you can say it is an hybridization based marker. This is the only one hybridization based marker which is used nowadays. So next topic is RAPD, that is randomly amplified polymorphic DNA. So RAPD, as the name suggests, uh, it depends upon the or you can say it is a PCR based marker, and in this technique, that is uh, uh, RAPD, it is first developed by William et al. Uh, and Welsh and McClelland independently. So they are separately developed this technique, and this is, as I have told you, that it is a PCR based molecular marker technique, and actually, the PCR technique was developed by, you people know, I hope, that it is developed by Carey Mullis in 1983. And this technique amplify a small quantity of DNA without the application of any living organism. So you can say it is a technique which amplify the DNA in vitro condition, and it requires primers, template, DNA polymerase, and DNTPs. These are the components which required for carrying out the amplification of DNA in vitro condition. And this RAPD, which was developed, as I have told you, it is developed by William and Welsh separately, independently. And in this case, amplification of genomic DNA is achieved by PCR using single, remember, using single short, approximately 10 nucleotide, and random primer. Okay. In general PCR reaction, there are two primer used. One is forward and that is reverse. So the forward and reverse primers are used to amplify a particular DNA fragment. But here the primers are random and they are very short. That is 10 nucleotide in length. And during PCR, amplification takes place when two hybridization sites are similar to each other and in opposite direction. Only the condition is that two hybridization sites are similar to each other and in opposite direction. And these amplified fragments are totally dependent on the length and the size of both the target genome and the primer. And it is necessary that the selected primer should have at least 40% GC content. So this can be cleared from this picture. Actually, this is the template DNA, which is used as a template for RAPD, molecular marker technique, and these are short primers, and these primers are random in nature. Okay, so if we want to see the pattern which is obtained by using these random primer, so if we consider this pattern, this DNA template, in which different primers, these primers are actually annealed at different position. And if we want to analyze that must be which fragment must be amplified, so you can consider this first one, this one. Here the amplification takes place from this 5 prime, this is 5 prime to 3 prime direction, and this is the 3 prime to 5 prime direction. So the DNA replication, it takes place from 5 prime to 3 prime direction, and here the reaction takes place in this direction, but in this case the reaction takes place in this direction. And in the next step, what will happen? Because actually, in this case, the these primers, they are in opposite directions. So the amplification of this fragment, it is possible. But in the second case, because these two primers are in the same direction, there will be no amplification. Okay. So similarly, in this case, the primers are actually, these primers are present in the opposite direction, but they are too far from each other. So if the distance is more than 2000 bases, the amplification of this fragment, it is actually very rare, and the desired amount of amplification will not uh, happen. So you can see that primers, when they are placed at right position and right distance, then only the particular DNA template fragment, it is amplified. Okay. So now in the next step, the next step, uh, we have compare different sample, that is sample 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we go through this RAPD technology, and after that these bands are separated on a polyacrylamide gel or cross gel electrophorese, and we can see the clear cut variation, clear cut variation. So if we consider this case 1, uh, this band from sample 4, we can compare the band pattern in sample 1 and 3. They are at their at same position, but in case of sample 2 and sample 4, the band position is shifted. uh, uh, in the sample 4, the band position is shifted downward. It shows that the size of this DNA fragment, it is decreases. While in case of sample 2, the band is shifted upwardly, and it shows that the uh, size of DNA fragment, it is more than the size of DNA fragment which is present in sample 1, 3 and 4. So in the next case, if we compare this band pattern, we can see the band pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth and sixth band pattern. We can see that a band is absent from sample 2 and sample 3, and this band shift, that is absence of band, it is either due to the absence of site which is required for the annealing of this primer, or in opposite direction, or it could be possible that the distance between the two primers which are oppositely annealed with the template DNA, it is too much to amplify that particular DNA fragment. That is why this band is absent. Is it clear to all of you? So, a much more, it is a experimental evidence of RAPD which shows the variation among these 17 sample, and this M, it is used as a DNA marker. The size is in kilobase pair, and we can see that this band, it is present in only few sample. The band which correspond to approximately uh, 6 kilobase, it is almost present in all sample, but this band which correspond to this one, probably zero point 0.9 kilobase pair. It is present only in some sample, while uh, there is a variation which found in the band pattern which correspond to the this band, clear cut variation, and the variation also present in this second band. So this is the RAPD, and not only producing the result of RAPD, it is important to interpret the result which is obtained from the RAPD. However, RAPD, it has some limitation. Actually, all RAPD markers are dominant. That is, it is not possible to distinguish whether a DNA segment is amplified from a locus that is heterozygous or homozygous. And codominant RAPD markers observed as a different size DNA segment amplified from the same locus are rarely detected. Then another limitation is that PCR, it is an enzymatic reaction, and the quality and concentration of template DNA, it depends upon the PCR components, and the PCR cycling condition may greatly influence the result. The RAPD technique, it is actually not very efficient technique, because it needs carefully developed laboratory protocols to be reproducible, and mismatches between the primer and the template may result in the total absence of PCR product, which is actually a usual practice in the laboratory when we go for the RAPD technique. And one another limitation is that the RAPD results can be very difficult to interpret. So these are some limitation of RAPD technique. And one another RAPD technique, which is actually known as sequence characterized amplified region marker, that is SCAR. This RAPD technique, it is a codominant markers from RAPDs, and it is locus specific, and the polymorphic RAPD markers band is isolated from the gel, and then amplified in the PCR reaction, and the PCR product is cloned and sequenced. So new, longer and specific primers are designed for the DNA sequence, which is known as sequence characterized amplified region markers, that is SCAR.